Okay, Kristy and Meadow, we're coming back at you with the rest of the mobility part, which is mainly going to be focusing on the upper body or the upper extremity. Shoulder mobility, obviously fundamental for swimmers, and then as mentioned, activation exercises for the core and also your upper body. Okay, for the shoulder mobility part, we need to first obviously see what the function of the shoulder is. We are going to keep it simple. We want to focus on that overhead reaching capacity, putting emphasis on the use of the traps. So we're not always want to go up here. We also want to maintain that control down here by just extending the elbow, covering the ear if you look at it from the side without going into a hyperextension of the lumbar spine. And then we obviously need internal and external rotation, as the shoulder is meant to rotate all the time. Wherever you reach, your shoulder is never going to go completely straight, as you see it in some more isolated or bodybuilding type of exercises in some way. We're going to start in the kneeling position. So up here we're already putting in the hip extension part, so we connect our pelvis to our lower body, get the belly button sucked in, get the bum in, and then we reach basically from that opposite sided pocket. We can slightly rotate our T-spine, but try not to come forward or downwards too much. So we stay upright, grab in that pocket, and then we reach back all the way as far as we can get, and you'll notice that here my palm is facing upwards, here my palm is facing downwards. Alright, so we go from internal rotation all the way back there to the external rotation, stretching that whole line out. And then for the second one, you can vary. You can do both arms at the time to stress a little bit more the rhomboids and the medial part of the traps, getting the scaps moving further together. As I have not seen you in person, unfortunately I can't. I can only keep this specific to what I've been told. But you're gonna profit from that exercise anyway. I've not met a single person that wasn't improving after doing a couple of these shoulder mobility exercises, because not only for swimmers but for everybody that tends to be a weak point. For the second one, we want to go into internal rotation with that arm. Meanwhile, we're going to external rotation with the other arm. So from the front, it will look like that, going as far as you can with every rep. From the back, it looks like that. So you'll notice I've got a big side difference due to a tear in my rotator cuff. So make sure you do these exercises so that stuff doesn't happen to you. Alright? Then for the next one, we're going to move into all fours, and now we're going to put that activation of our rotator cuff into practice by incorporating some crawling exercises. So we go to all fours, hands below the shoulders, knees below the hips, and now we just slightly put up the knees. Meanwhile, we suck the belly button in and get the rib cage out. So we want to focus on this extension. We don't want to pull our scapulars back together. That's not the activation that we want. What we want is extension of the rib cage, which is going to make us longer or bigger in the water, and like this we can swim with less strokes, more efficiency, and we need less time. Okay, so belly button in, rib cage up, then we get the knees up, and now all we do is we crawl to the right. Doesn't even have to be long. Crawl to the left, we crawl to the front, and we crawl to the back. Obviously, depending on how much space you got, making that exercise worthy is when you emphasize this square between your shoulders and your ASIS joints, so bones. So these two bones right here, that square should stay parallel to the floor throughout all the crawling. So you don't want to be rotating with your hips or your shoulders up and down. You really want to keep it with small movements at first and really focus on that activation of your core, which is going to give you a good burn after a while. To stress that activation of the TVA, the transverse abdominis, even more, and obviously incorporate a little bit more of a shoulder strengthening component, we're going to use an exercise called the prone cobra, which doesn't look like a lot of work, but it's actually freaking hard to do. Plus it's very difficult to speak within that exercise, so I'm going to try and make that clear from the beginning. What we're trying to do is, again, connecting the pelvis to the belly button to a long spine, so with that rib cage extension. Conventional core exercises such as sit-ups or crunches are more focused on shortening the abdominal muscles, which is not really what we need in swimming, unless we if we're not looking at that flip turn especially. But even there, that's not really what we want. What we want is a core that connects the upper extremity to the lower extremity and transmits force. So that's why we do the crawling, and that's why we want to activate the TVA. So we go down, lay down on our rib cage, put the knees down. Basically we go from that all fours position that we've been in before, a little bit further forward with the hands, bring the rib cage down and try to elevate the pelvis. Now if I elevate the pelvis, I'm going to be in an anterior pelvic tilt, so I'm going to stick my bum out like that, which I don't want, because I don't want to swim like that, like a duck. I want to swim like that and stay tall. So what I do is I lift my bum up and then I tilt my pelvis backwards. So I squeeze the glutes a little bit, not as hard as I can, but while I do that, I suck my belly button in. Okay? So we go down on the rib cage, bum up, bum in, belly button in, and we lift the hands up. Hold that for a while and you should feel that burn at the side of your abs. Your TVA is basically just like a belt around your abs. It's these profound layers of your abdominal muscles that really give you that deep stability that you need in the water to transmit force. Alright, after that we're going to make it a little bit easier again for the upper extremity. We're going to lay down in an L position right here. So we got a 90-degree flexion of the hip, and now we put the hands down on top of each other. We start by just opening up the thoracic spine and closing it. As easy as that, trying to keep the knees together and on the floor. That's just the reverse one of the dynamic star that we've been doing in the first video, and then as a progression of that, we're going to go all the way in that half circle, all the way around. Okay, we come back and breathe out and try to incorporate that thoracic rotation. Okay, for the last one I want to show in that video, we again want to go to an all fours position. So it's all fours, then we move the feet back a little bit so we get into a push-up. Now again, we make sure we maintain good position of the lower spine, so we don't want to be here or here. We want to keep this distance the same, if not longer. So we try to imagine pushing with our hand, with our head against the wall, sucking the belly button in, extending the rib cage. Okay. So from here, we're gonna put the knees down again, do one push-up, come back here, come up, turn up, tuck, tuck, and if you can, obviously you can do the push-up here, but I really want to see a good push-up. So hips extended, rib cage long, spine long, and we do a push-up on the on the knees, which is definitely gonna get the job done. Alright, doing that for about 10 reps should get you activated before you start your swim or after you end your swim. That's just some strength or some ground-based strength foundations where it's really more important that you get the principles right. So the right activation of your TVA, T-spine rotation, clean internal and external rotation of your shoulder without lifting the shoulder up too much. That stuff builds the foundation for further strengthening exercises. Before you need external weights or any kind of material, you gotta go back to the ground, do or dominate your movement and your body weight on the ground, and afterwards you'll start dominating it within other mediums such as water or with external resistance, weights, or whatever kind of strength training you're going to be doing. I'm sweaty, and I'm sure you will be after doing these exercises in whichever combination you want. It doesn't need to be a fixed routine that you follow. You have to do all these exercises every day. As I said, it's more about the principles and getting it right. Okay, I'm gonna get changed, and I hope to see you out here anytime soon so we can discuss these matters in person.